The integrity of 3 papers of the baccalaureate examination has been compromised and subsequently cancelled throughout the national territory. Physique, Sciences de la Vie de la Terre, and Chimie will be rewritten on August 3 and 4. Parts of the national treasury in Yaoundé are consumed by fire, whose cause is yet to be established. Finance Minister Louis-Paul Moutazi assures the population that services will be rendered unperturbed as from Monday. The African Day of Seas and Oceans is observed in Cameroon with focus on checking sea pollution. Inhabitants of the seaside resort of Kribi celebrate the virtues of the sea beyond its tourist potential. Good evening and thanks for joining us. Those were the headlines of the 7:30 News.
Each of us must comply with the measures that have been taken.
We begin our half-hour newscast with the cancellation of some papers written in this year's baccalaureate examination. In a communiqué signed by Secondary Education Minister Professor Nalova Lyonga, the Physique, Sciences de la Vie de la Terre and Chimie papers are to be rewritten because they were compromised. The resit has been scheduled for the 3rd and 4th of August, and the probatoire exams built for these dates will take place on August 10 and 11. Beatrice Lawsamba has a reading of the decision.
The baccalaureate examination paper leak rumored on social media has been confirmed by the Minister of Secondary Education. Professor Pauline Nalova Lyonga's communiqué states that the integrity of the concerned papers had been compromised and therefore cancelled across the national territory. Bac Series C, D and TE candidates will have to rewrite the Physique Sciences de Terre papers, now rescheduled on Monday 3 and Tuesday 4th of August 2020 at 7 a.m. in respective centers. The rescheduling of these papers has led to a slight modification on the secondary general probatoire exams in the Série A, ABI, C, D, E and TE. The written part begins on Wednesday, August 5 as initially scheduled, but the papers due for August 3 and 4 have been postponed to Monday 10 and Tuesday 11 August 2020 respectively. Officials of the Office du Bac opened investigations to locate the author of the misdeed. The Physique, Sciences de Terre and Chimie papers, now cancelled for the Bac Series C, D and TE candidates, were written during the last 2 days of the just-ended Bac exams, and copies of the exam questions circulated online before the start of the exams.
In higher education, some 24,000 candidates will be sitting for the 2020 session of the competitive examinations into the Advanced School of Administration and Magistracy (ENAM) for cycles A and B, while the written phase for public and labor administration will take place today. The Minister of Administrative Reform, Joseph Lay, was at the institution to appraise the security measures taken. Emmanuel Avenue reports.
3 a.m. Saturday, a long night for officials of the Ministry of Public Service and Administrative Reform and those of the Advanced School of Administration and Magistracy. They are on the lookout for a hitch-free start of the 2020 entrance examinations into ENAM. They supervise the printing of examination question papers, then they are dispatched to the 8 writing centers before the first of the 24,000 candidates began arriving.
Everything has been done. Just few minutes before the distribution of those papers, it's because we want to avoid bad things that can be done. So nobody can have an examination paper before.
7:30 a.m., the minister and his entourage goes from center to center to appraise the takeoff.
I'm totally satisfied. Everything is going on smoothly.
Close to 8,000 are sitting the General and Labor Administration Cycle A and B this weekend, in which 100 will be retained.
As announced in one of our top stories, parts of the annex building of the National Treasury in Yaoundé has been razed by fire. The cause of the fire, which was brought under control last night by the firefighting corps, is yet to be established. Finance Minister Louis-Paul Moutazi, in a release, assures users that measures are on course to ensure the continuity of work in the service on Monday. Ate Bonaventure has the details.
This is the current phase of the National Treasury Annex building that was consumed by the fire on Friday night, breaking Saturday. The building harbored control and computerized regional accounting services. According to the release from Finance Minister, the incident was alerted at 10:40 p.m. and by 20 minutes past midnight, the firefighting brigade succeeded in bringing down the flames. Minister Louis-Paul Moutazi was at the site to evaluate the damages. He has, however, assured users that measures have been taken to ensure the continuity of services on Monday. Material damages include documents and working material whose financial value is yet to be determined.
And now on to diplomacy. The outgoing Tunisian ambassador to Cameroon has been exchanging with government officials on how to explore new horizons of cooperation with Cameroon. His Excellency Jalal Snoussi was granted audience by the Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Celestine Kecha-Couters. He pledged to continue supporting Cameroon in its decentralization process and in its drive to build sustainable and resilient cities. Both officials also discussed on the Tunisian expertise and investment projects in urbanization. In one of our top stories, as Cameroon joins Africa to observe the Day of Seas and Oceans, to the people of Kribi in the South region, the sea means more than a tourism asset. It has brought a port to them, generated economic benefits through fishing, and even exposed them to the cure of some diseases. El Sinji reports on just how beneficial the sea is to the people of the seaside resorts, Kribi.
The seashores of Kribi in the South region, which extend into the Atlantic Ocean, is one of the touristic sites of the city. Major economic activities are carried out offshore the wide sandy beaches. As a result, investors have constructed restaurants, hotels and bars to impact the socio-economic activities of both the inhabitants and visitors.
Though tourists come to Kribi for the sea, but we, the hoteliers, benefit because we give out rooms, serve food. In fact, it generates income and creates employment to the youth.
Other petty businesses like photography, fishing and others are carried out offshore of Ngoye, Tara and Grand Batanga beaches.
When there is no illness like coronavirus, we make profit from photography. It puts food on our table because when tourists are in Kribi, they want nice photos.
This natural endowment upholds the image of Kribi as one of Cameroon's main touristic and income-generating towns.
The people of Buea West, which includes Bokwango, Boassa, Likombe and Mapanja, are now linked by road to Bojongo in Limbe. The 12-kilometer stretch, worth 26 million CFA francs, constructed by the Southwest Development Authority, SUEDA, has been applauded by the communities who can now easily transport their produce to neighboring villages. Guy Roger Nana has more from the Southwest region.
As the saying goes, wherever a road passes, development follows. It is with this mindset that the locals of Bokwango, Boassa, Likombe, Mapanja villages right up to Bojongo received the 12.8-kilometer stretch of road that was graded and made motorable by the Southwest Development Authority, SUEDA, as part of its initiative to promote development in rural areas within the Southwest region.
The communities themselves had assured us when we visited the site, and they said, no, you can come and walk.
The locals were encouraged to jealously preserve the road, which is an indicator of future development within the area. This new stretch of road will boost economic activity within the area and certainly improve on the livelihood of the local population.
People will sell their crops. People will travel well.
During the handing over of the road to the community, the director of the Southwest Development Authority, SUEDA, handed over a series of maintenance work tools comprising wheelbarrows, spades, rakes and cutlasses to the local maintenance committees for the road.
The Vocational Training Center under construction in Manjo on the outskirts of Bertoua will be a hub to foster professionalization and job creation among the youth. The Minister of Employment and Vocational Training, Issa Chiroma Bakari, made their session during a tour of the vocational training institutions in the East region, as we hear this report by Marty Mabu.
General education is good, but vocational training for jobs and direct employment is better. This statement was made by the Minister of Vocational Training in a walking visit in the East region to encourage local agricultural and vocational training centers in Dongbome, Bonis, and at Manju.
It's a battle against unemployment.
The governor of the East region, Gregoire Mvongo, administrative authorities, elites, businessmen, and owners of private vocational and training centers use this opportunity to exchange and master the new project, get towards transforming training centers to professional structures that will lead to direct employment.
Through financing, technical and institutional support and follow-up, enable us to push the limit of employment and vocational training every day and to reinforce our drive against unemployment and underemployment.
The center and East region, the minister declared that professional centers will be placed in the Adamawa and the Northwest regions in Dor precisely.
In economic news, the management of the container yard at Douala Seaport hopes to see the supply of new and improved machinery as one of its short-term objectives. It has also set as targets to increase its financial output. Clarice Arey-Takang looks at how these goals can be attained and how vital they are for economic growth.
1 year was the time given to the new team managing the container yard to keep the structure functional while the transition period set in. While comparing what was with what is may be presumptuous, the ambition remains to deliver.
To make sure that any client that comes are saved very fast. We want that the dwell time of our client, when you come to our billing center, you'll be able to be saved in 10 minutes and go. When a truck enters our yard, it should be able to have his container in 15 minutes, 30 minutes and leave.
We have to put all the cloud system at our server, and we will not depend about this internet connection.
Ensuring competitiveness is on the agenda. Guaranteeing this is, however, subject to a number of prerequisites.
In the context of the COVID, nobody knows what is going to happen. That one we cannot manage. But the one that is very, very important for us is the equipment. So we are not sure that we'll be able to continue to operate with the tools that is decayed.
With an uncertain future, officials are, however, hopeful that the economics of the container yard will not succumb to changing tides. Port operators say only time and circumstances will tell.
The wearing of face masks in public places will be mandatory until further notice.
Members of the Economic and Financial Reform Program, PREF-CEMAC Monitoring Unit, have rounded up an evaluation of the budgetary policies in the sub-region. This is in prelude to the 11th ordinary session of the Council of Ministers of Finance and the Economy scheduled for July 31st. Caroline Okie-Anoma now highlights the positive reforms against the COVID-19 pandemic.
The assessment reveals a performance rate of all the 5 pillars put together of about 60.3% annual targets in 2018 versus over 70% in 2019, resulting to close to 10 points increase in the performance rate observed in between the 2 years. The report will be forwarded to the Steering Committee, COPIL, for consideration during the upcoming Council of Ministers of Economic and Finance. The monitoring unit also reviewed the status of implementation of the actions on all the 5 pillars. Overall, the implementation of actions on all the 5 pillars are quite satisfactory, even in the midst of COVID-19, except for the structural reform pillar that is lagging behind and needs to catch up by 2021. The 11th ordinary session monetary unit of PREF-CEMAC was carried out via video conference under the chairmanship of Antoine Ngakeni, the permanent secretary of PREF-CEMAC, Professor Michel Sia Jena Webo, and Clement Belimbanga, who jointly served as the rapporteur and in charge of economic, monetary, and financial affairs of the sub-region.
In security news, over 250 students of the 38th batch of the Combined Services Military Academy EMIA have ended a one-month training which dwelled on acquiring skills in detecting explosives. Their training had been triggered by multiple incidents where explosives were detonated in some neighborhoods of Yaoundé. The military men and women received attestations of end-of-course training at the Military Engineering Center in Douala. Alphonse Abongwa has the details.
On the evening of June 20, it was reported that 2 improvised explosive devices detonated in the Meleng and Emana neighborhoods of Yaoundé. Less than 2 weeks after, on July 2, a third detonated at Damas, still in Yaoundé, causing panic. In other regions like the far north, northwest and southwest, these are common security challenges faced by the population. The 275 students of the 38th batch of EMIA baptized the Peace and Unity batch spent 1 month at the Military Engineering Center in Douala to acquire the skills that will permit them detect and prevent such incidents from occurring. The future military men and women say they are combat ready to block the way for any form of insecurity they will meet on the theater of operations. The 1 month exercise, carried out in strict respect of COVID-19 measures, is said to be a leap in military training. The attestation award ceremony was presided over by Colonel Jackson Kamgeng, Director of the Military Engineering Corps.
How the world perceives Africa depends on the stories told and most especially on who controls the narrative. This is the focus of a doctoral thesis by Dieudonné Assougué Alaka titled Le cinéma documentaire en Afrique noire francophone, questionner la transmission. The candidate defended today at the University of Yaoundé 1 before a jury led by the Minister of State, Minister of Higher Education, Professor Jacques Famendongo. Yoti Kalelisonge reports.
To tell Africa's undistorted story, Africans need to be behind the camera and at the fore of production. The doctoral thesis, Le cinéma documentaire en Afrique noire francophone, questionner la transmission, explains why.
Us Africans, we don't have our own representation of what we are now. So it's a matter of perception. And if a people, a society cannot perceive himself, this society doesn't exist.
Facts that all played in favor of the candidate who received exceptional scores from the jury, led by the Minister of State, Professor Jacques Famendongo.
We are at a point where we need to valorize, potentials, harness them, and render them a little more effective.
Dieudonné Assougué Alaka, now holder of a PhD in Performing Arts and Cinematography, can influence Africa's narrative through his films and documentaries, as well as bring the much desired change at the Faculty of Arts, Letters and Social Sciences in the University of Yaoundé 1.
On to another PhD thesis. Cameroonian artist and broadcaster Ate Francis Ngong has defended a theory titled Social Media Promotion of Copyrighted Cameroonian Music before a jury led by Professor Celestin Debiembe. The candidate, who worked on a comprehensive skill in the use of social media platforms, scored an excellent performance. Gilbert Ongene was there and now reports for the 7:30 News.
The findings in Ate's research work are outlined in a thesis titled Social Media Promotion of Copyrighted Cameroon Music, in which he identifies the lack of knowledge about how to manipulate smartphones and computers and using social media platforms as a reason for which Cameroonian musicians don't get adequate exposure.
This work is a major contribution to the improvement of the visibility of Cameroonian artists.
He has defended the thesis before this 5-man jury.
Theoretically, it contributes on the knowledge of communication as far as social media are concerned. Empirically, provide solutions to Cameroon musicians.
The broadcaster, author and musician Ate Francis has just backed a PhD in mass communication, and some fans are looking forward to his new release, hoping that the abbreviation DR would appear before his name.
Congratulations, Dr. Ate Francis Bazor. On to COVID-19 news. The West region has so far recorded some 60 COVID-19 deaths, 20 amongst whom succumbed to the virus at home. The population is thus enjoined to get tested and follow treatments in certified. In our tour to the regions tonight, Baldwin Sama at the Public Health Emergency Operations Center on a live chat with the West Regional Delegate for Public Health, Dr. Chimum Dauda, tells us more. Hello, Baldwin.
Good evening to you, Esther Kima. Our tour of the different regions this Saturday takes us to the West region of Cameroon. This region, like three other regions, greatly affected as far as the spread of COVID-19 is concerned. And our guest tonight is the West Regional Delegate for Public Health, Dr. Chimum Dauda. Mr. Regional Delegate, good evening.
Good evening, Sama.
Tell us, Mr. Regional Delegate, what assessment can you make so far as the response strategy in that part of the country is concerned, talking about the fight against the spread of COVID-19 in the West region?
Thank you. We registered our first case of COVID-19 on March 18, 2020. We activate our management system of incident of March 21. And from that day, we start do the reports in all over the region. We know that, but till now, all those actions are decentralized in districts. Let me give you the global situation of the region. Till today, we have tested 9,259 persons. We have 1,043 positive cases. We have 644 recover, 387 active, 16 deaths, and we unfortunately 135 caregivers infected, where 3 of them have already died. Concerning the situation in district, all the 20 districts in the region are in epidemic.
Tell me, finally, Mr. Regional Delegate, so far over 60 persons have died of COVID-19 in that region, and more of such persons are those who died at home before being taken to the hospital. What accounts for this fear factor? Persons who are scared of going to the hospital, they prefer dying at home.
That's true. It is exact. Most of our patients die out of the hospital. It's due by 2 things. The stigmatization of patient COVID by the population, because for them, when you have COVID, when you are a COVID positive person, even you are friends, they don't like to visit you again. They run away. That's the first thing. So people prefer dying than accept that they have COVID. That's the first thing. The second thing is that the population have stigmatized hospital. They say when you go to hospital now, in every case of disease, they say it is COVID. And when they take you, they put you there for 2 weeks. And even when you die, they don't give your corpse to your family. So they don't like to come again to the hospital.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chimum Dauda. You are the Regional Delegate of Public Health in the West region of Cameroon. Esther Kima, next week Saturday, our tour of the regions takes us to the East region of the country. Back to you, Esther Kima.
Thanks very much, Baldwin Sama, for those updates. It is important for the population to know that they should get tested. They should also overcome stigma and trust hospitals. Over in the Northwest region, over 2,000 COVID-19 preventive kits have been distributed to offices in the Bamenda 1 Council area by a group of youth in an association called Local Youth Corners, Cameroon. The move is in line with national efforts to slow the spread of the coronavirus. Misode Mituge has the details from the Northwest region.
The youths shared anti-COVID preventive kits comprised of over 2,000 hand sanitizers and posters to the Bamenda 1 Municipal Council, Bamenda 1 Motor Park Market, and the Governor's Office. The action was appreciated by the Regional Delegate for Youth Affairs and Civic Education.
Well, as a youth trainer, I'm very satisfied with this initiative of the Local Youth Corner Cameroon, particularly the aspect of volunteerism. That is one of the backbones of the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Civic Education.
The regional representative of the association says their goal is to sensitize the public, particularly youths, on the dangers of the coronavirus.
The project has as vision to distribute 5,000 hand sanitizers to various subdivisions across the Northwest region, some of which include Tuba subdivision, Bamenda 1, Bamenda 2, Bamenda 3, Bali, and Santa subdivisions.
The operation One Person, One Hand Sanitizer will continue in the days ahead in Jakiri, in Breed Division of the Northwest region.
It's okay.
And on today's press release from the Ministry of Secondary Education, the Minister of Secondary Education informs candidates for the 2020 baccalaureate examinations that the integrity of the papers Physique, Sciences de la Vie et de la Terre, and Chimie, Série C, D, and TI has been compromised. Therefore, they have been cancelled throughout the national territory. In order not to disturb the other examinations, the papers Physique, Sciences de la Vie et de la Terre, and Chimie have been rescheduled on Monday, the 3rd, and Tuesday, the 4th of August 2020 at 7 a.m. in their respective centres. Additionally, the programming of the Secondary General Probatoire Examination in the Série A, ABI, C, D, E, and TI will undergo a slight modification. The written part will begin on Wednesday, the 5th of August 2020 at 7 a.m. as initially scheduled on the timetable, whereas the papers scheduled for the 3rd and 4th of August have been postponed to Monday, the 10th, and Tuesday, the 11th of August 2020, respectively. The Minister further informs the general public that these examinations are for the benefit of all Cameroonian students and that anyone who interferes with the examinations will be dealt with according to the law. The modified schedule can also be found on the website www.minisec.gov.cm. It is signed by the Minister of Secondary Education, Professor Nalova Lyunga. And that was part of our headlines, in which you heard that the integrity of 3 papers of the baccalaureate examination has been compromised and subsequently cancelled throughout the national territory. Physique, Sciences de la Vie et de la Terre, and Chimie will be rewritten on August the 3rd and 4th, 2020. Parts of the National Treasury in Yaoundé have been consumed by a fire whose cause is yet to be established. Finance Minister Louis-Paul Motaze has assured the population that services will be rendered unperturbed as from Monday. And finally, the African Day of Seas and Oceans has been observed in Cameroon with focus on checking sea pollution. Inhabitants of the seaside resort in Kribi have been celebrating the economic and health virtues of the sea beyond its tourist potential. More news comes up at 8:30 p.m. with Atabadine Omar. I'll be back tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. God willing. Stay tuned to our programs on the CRTV. Stay protected. The coronavirus is in Cameroon.
In this connection, we should avoid stigmatizing